The difference is when you actually give up on it, when you actually walk away from faith. That's the problem. When you let yourself get in the way of the relationship with God. There's a behavioral phenomenon, by the way, it's called acting out. When you have repressed emotions, they tend to come out in these odd, peculiar ways. I guess some of them can be humorous. Most of them are pretty self-destructive and tragic. But I can tell you personally, when I'm angry about something, when it's lingering beneath the surface, I am definitely at my worst spiritually, and I am much more prone to doing things that I know I shouldn't. But when I'm angry, that means basically I'm not getting something I want. That life is somehow threatening and unpleasant. I feel that I'm in conflict with something, not real happy with what God is doing in my life. And so, well, poo-poo, I'm going to do this. That's kind of how it works out. It's an adult tantrum, but it's acting out behavior. And to a great degree, I see a lot of sin as acting out behavior. People have these strong, unpleasant feelings they don't want to deal with and don't want to express, and they pop out in other ways. You know, we talked a little bit about addiction. I don't know of any healthy-minded, well-adjusted drug addicts. Now, that doesn't mean that anything happens in the family. There are so many pressures and so many influences on people today that, you know, the home is becoming less and less and less influential. And, you know, you can be the best parent in the world and have kids with problems. I really want to stress that because it's really about people's choices and how individuals choose to handle different stressors and circumstances in their life. But addiction, generally speaking, any addiction, is about trying to fix the problems on the inside with something on the outside. Acting out behaviors. You know, I feel crummy, so I'm going to anesthetize myself for a while. I don't feel I have a lot of value, so let me work 70, 80, 90 hours a week so people think I'm a wonderful provider and a wonderful employee, and I can walk up the social corporate ladder, if you will. How wonderful that would be. How much people will respect me if I'm such a good employee and such a success at work. Only thing is, the stuff on the outside doesn't fix the stuff on the inside. It just drives you to more and more and more of the same kind of behaviors. And it certainly doesn't bring you any closer to God. So when we see things in our life that are not conducive to spiritual growth, that just aren't in line with our own belief system, we need to look at ourselves and say, okay, what's really going on here? Why am I really doing this? Granted, whatever you're doing may be fun at the moment, but there's a deeper reason. A deeper reason. And the only way you're going to get out of that is to get honest with yourself and God and address it. And you always have the assurance that Jesus understands exactly what you're going through. I always refer to his prayer in the garden. I think it's profoundly important that Jesus, for 3 hours, was asking God for a plan B. He knew about the cross. He'd agreed to it, put the foundation of the world, and it came right down to it. You know, God was saying, Father, you're really creative. You know, you're all powerful, really creative. Is there a way we can do this differently? I need to shed blood. Would a paper cut do? For 3 hours. 3 hours. And he was completely divine. He was completely God. And for 3 hours, he's looking for a way out. But without sin. And it's okay to talk to God and tell him you're not happy and hope that there's a better, less painful way out. But when it comes down to it, it's about not my will, but thine be done. In fact, well, the only way you're going to really get there is to talk to God for a while and get honest about what you're feeling and what you prefer, and work it out with him. And you know what? It'll probably take you more than 3 hours. It may take 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 years or more. But God is patient. God can handle it. And it really is all part of his plan. There are no missed trains with God. There's no, oops, too late. God never said, oh my goodness, that didn't happen in time. Now we're ready. God's got it under control. God's working things out. And he is most concerned with each and every individual and your spiritual growth and relationship with him. Because unless we have that, if I can say, well, under his control, we're not going to really be much good for sharing it with anybody else. Jesus knows our problems. Jesus understands temptation, and yet he still loves us, and he remains with us. Our Lord